Serotonin, made by Michael, Kelsey, and Heather. The chemical structure of serotonin has a hydroxyl group, HO, and amine groups, NH2 and NH. These functional groups allow serotonin to bind effectively to its receptors in the brain, helping it transmit signals between neurons. The indole ring in serotonin structure also contributes to its stability and ability to interact with receptors.
Serotonin pathway. Serotonin is made from tryptophan, an amino acid exclusively obtained through diet. It is often found in protein-rich foods like meat or eggs. It is then converted into 5-hydroxytryptophan by an enzyme called tryptophan hydroxylase. Serotonin is primarily produced in the brain and gastrointestinal tract. Serotonin is transported from the cytoplasm to the vesicles through vesicular monoamine transporter 2, or VMAT2. Serotonin travels against the concentration gradient using a lot of ATP, therefore engaging in active transport. In the central nervous system, serotonin is stored in presynaptic vesicles. However, 90% of the body's serotonin is stored in enterochromaffin cells in the gastrointestinal tract. Serotonin transporter, or SERT, brings serotonin from the synaptic gap back into the presynaptic cell in a process called reuptake. To the right, there is a cartoon representation of reuptake. The blue cartoon channel located in the center of the presynaptic cell is responsible for reabsorbing the leftover serotonin. The serotonin then goes back to its vesicles, awaiting another action potential. Serotonin may also get metabolized by monoamine oxidase in the cytoplasm.
So, is serotonin neuron-specific? First of all, what does that even mean? That means that it's only found in neurons or in nerve cells. However, this is not true because while it can be found in nerve cells, it's also found in other places in the body. Only 1 to 2% of serotonin is made in the brain of the brainstem's RAF nuclei. However, 90 to 95% is made in the gastrointestinal tract in the enterochromaffin cells in the brain-blood barrier. The brain-blood barrier prevents serotonin from entering the brain from the body because those two types of serotonin have very different functions throughout the body, and the brain produces its own serotonin, so it doesn't need the serotonin throughout the lower parts of the body. The roles of serotonin throughout the brain is that it regulates mood, sleep, and appetite. And then the roles of serotonin throughout the gastrointestinal tract is that it controls bowel function, digestion, and nausea. What cells have serotonin? Neurons, which we've just covered in the RAF nuclei, have serotonin. The enterochromaffin cells as well in the intestinal lining. Platelets, which helps in blood clotting. Also immune cells in microphages and T cells.
Here we see an animated photo of a serotonin receptor with serotonin itself, shown in blue, binding to it. This is how serotonin normally attaches to the outside of a receptor to send a signal to the cell. Serotonin has over 14 receptor subtypes, grouped into 7 families called 5-HT1 to 5-HT7. Most are G-protein coupled, except 5-HT3, which is an ion channel. Each receptor does something different. 5-HT1 reduces neuron activity and anxiety. 5-HT2 excites neurons and affects mood. 5-HT3 controls gut function, and 5-HT4 to 5-HT7 influence learning, memory, and sleep. So depending on which receptor it binds, serotonin can have different effects in the brain and body.
The diagram depicts the amount of spontaneous excitatory postsynaptic currents, or SEPSCs, without and with serotonin. The SEPSCs are represented by the downward spikes. Without serotonin, the control, there are very limited SEPSCs, and with the application of serotonin, the 5-HT, there are significantly more spontaneous excitatory postsynaptic currents, meaning that serotonin provides more SEPSCs.
So what are the roles of serotonin throughout the nervous system? First, it helps with mood regulation, which is strongly linked to emotional well-being. An oversupply can lead to serotonin syndrome, and an undersupply can lead to depression. It helps with sleep cycles, so it promotes relaxation and is also a precursor to melatonin, which is the sleep hormone. It helps with appetite and digestion, so hunger and food cravings. Memory, learning, and cognition, so regulates synaptic plasticity and memory. Stress balances the fight or flight feeling and affects responses to stress. And lastly, pain perception. It helps regulate nociception, which is how to process pain signals.
Serotonin is connected to many different diseases in both the brain and the body. In the brain, low levels of serotonin are linked to depression, anxiety, OCD, and schizophrenia. In the body, serotonin problems can cause gut issues like IBS, heart arrhythmias, and high blood pressure. Some disorders are caused by mutations in serotonin receptors or transporters, which change how serotonin works. This can contribute to conditions like autism. On the other hand, having too much serotonin can be dangerous and lead to serotonin syndrome, which usually happens from drug interactions. Because serotonin affects so much, many medicines we use like antidepressants and antipsychotics work by targeting serotonin pathways.
Selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, or SSRIs, are the most common medication used to treat people with depression. The cartoon image to the right represents the process of SSRIs. They block the reuptake channel, leaving serotonin in the synaptic gap, prolonging a positive mood. Cocaine and amphetamines have a similar effect of SSRIs, blocking serotonin's reuptake, but they are typically not prescribed by healthcare professionals and are easily abused. Snake venom contains an excess of serotonin, which is also harmful. It constricts smooth muscle movement, stopping essential blood vessels and eventually cutting off blood supply.